Welcome to Kaleidoscope. We're so glad to have you with us this afternoon. I'm Dr. Abel, and I'll be your host for this show. And this is going to be our last show for the semester. And I'm sure glad that you have tuned in to be with us on our last segment for this semester. Today, my guest will be Ricardo Colon, and I have a packaged interview with him. He is still working on his doctoral degree at University of Kentucky. And we also have as a guest Dr. Chandra Nash. And I also have a special package for you at the end of our show. So sit back and relax and hope you will enjoy this segment of Kaleidoscope. We'll be right back.
Hear Me Roar is a show about the real-life experiences and personal stories of women in today's world. Hear Me Roar is also a program that promotes women artists, writers, dancers, scholars, and musicians.
Right.
Shuttle at 606-783-8747, Sunday through Thursday, 7 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Welcome back to Kaleidoscope. And our first segment is with an interview that I had with Mr. Ricardo Colon. And we will share the first segment of that, and then we will return. Ricardo, how are you?
I am well, thank
Good.
you.
So glad to have you here on the show here at our Kaleidoscope segment here. And first of all, I'd like for you to share with us a little bit about yourself and how you got here to Moorhead, and you can take it from there.
Well, my story on how I got to Moorhead goes back to 1988 when I first came to Kentucky. I watched a basketball game on television and saw someone who was from Brooklyn, New York, and I said to myself, I can go to Kentucky. So I applied, got accepted, and 24 hours later, after riding the Greyhound, I showed up in Kentucky. And
Wow.
There begins the journey for me and my connection to Kentucky. I came from New York City.
Can you share a little bit about your background with our audience? Tell us a little bit about some of the jobs you had and your background as far as getting you to Moorhead.
Well, after I graduated the university and came back to Kentucky 10 years later to work, I made my way around the university system in Kentucky. And my last job was at Western Kentucky University. And from there, I applied for the position of Director of Student Activities, Inclusion and Leadership Development here at Moorhead State University.
Where did you receive your degrees from?
I have a bachelor's in Latin American Studies and Spanish Literature from the University of Kentucky in Lexington, and I have a master's in secondary teaching in Spanish from Pace University in New York City, and right now I am working on my doctoral degree from the University of Kentucky in Higher Education Administration.
I am now curious, and I'm sure some of our audience members are curious too. What about your marital status? Do you have a family? Did you bring your family with you? What's your status in reference to your family and background as far as your marital status?
Sure. I am not married, but I do have a son and a daughter. My daughter is of college age, and I am trying to encourage her strongly to come to Moorhead State University. She's still trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life. And my son is 7 years old, And he is very smart, and one day he'll probably be a Morehead Eagle.
Ricardo, I'd like to now have you share with us a little bit about your duties here. What is your title, and what are your duties here at Morehead?
I am the Director of Student Activities, Inclusion, and Leadership Development, and part of my duties encompass a variety of areas. Inclusion, which is our multicultural area, tries to bring all our students together, all our faculty and staff together in terms of helping create an access point for our students of color, and also educate our majority students in terms of what inclusion is all about. We also are part of the Greek system, so the Greek system is part of the Student Activities Office,
Yes.
and we work with the three main groups, Pan-Hellenic, National Pan-Hellenic, and the Interfraternity Council. And we try to create opportunities for those students to develop leadership skills and learn how to work together in organizations. Additionally, we have the Student Programming Board, which is the major programs on campus. What we do with the Student Programming Board is it is student-run, professionally and graduate student advised, and these are students who program for students. So every major event that you see on campus is pretty much tied into the Student Activities Board. We also work with student government and help guide them as an institutionalized organization. We work with student government to help represent the voice of students to administration. We do have three organizations that we lend very strong support to. That is the Alliance Group, our LGBT group, and Minority Leadership Caucus, and as well as the Cosmopolitan Club, which is comprised of our international student population. And we work very closely with these groups to help them acclimate and negotiate and navigate the university system. And overall, there are many activities that happen through our office, student organizations, homecoming, Parents Weekend, so we're involved in many of those activities in some form or another. We also help with recruitment. So as you can see, part of what we do touches all the lives of all our students while they're not in the classroom, because they spend most of their time outside of the classroom, and that's where we come in.
Hear Me Roar is a show about the real-life experiences and personal stories of women in today's world. Hear Me Roar is also a program that promotes women artists, writers, dancers, scholars, and musicians.
Call for a ride from the shuttle at 606-783-8747, Sunday through Thursday, 7 p.m. to 1 a.m.
The Morehead State University Space Science Center has been established to provide a research and educational facility with state-of-the-art laboratories for undergraduate students in space science. The Star Theater located inside functions as a classroom and public entertainment room featuring laser light shows and 3D movies. To contact the Space Science Center, call 606-783-2381. For events in the Star Theater, call 606-783-9593.
All right, last but not least, and I won't hold you any longer, but I wanted to know, since your position at Western is somewhat similar to what you're doing here at Morehead, how would you compare, or do you feel like you've been here long enough to compare the climate or the culture, the differences between the climate and culture between Western and Morehead?
But there are some obvious differences between the two universities, and in size, Western Kentucky is a much larger institution, but it can be difficult to navigate. Here at Morehead, I've found that people are more accessible, but it has its challenges as well, and those are part of learning to know individuals and learning how the system works, which is one of the challenges I have right now as I become more familiar with the way the university functions, the procedures, the policies. I'm sure I'll get better at navigating the institution. In terms of culture, I think that everyone is committed to helping students. And you see that throughout this campus here at Morehead State University. So, and we have a very good connection with our alumni and an established relationship. And I witnessed that this past year during homecoming.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that there are some similarities in the two institutions. But Morehead has its unique traditions and its unique ways of doing things. And it's not good or bad, but it's a different way of functioning. And as time goes by, we'll see that Morehead will keep going forward and evolving as an institution.
And Ricardo, I want to say thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to share with you and find out a little bit about you and welcome you to Morehead State University. And this hopefully will not be our last interview with you. We hope that you will participate in another, probably something in the fall that we hope to do in reference to our Greek life here on campus. And we're hoping that to promote it that we can get a little bit more active. And I know you're doing everything you can to get that going, and hopefully it will come to fruition for the fall. But again, thank you so very much for being a part of our Kaleidoscope TV show. Thank you.
At the Kentucky Center for Traditional Music, we preserve and develop the art form and represent our cultural heritage through performance, educational outreach, and interaction with the community in the MSU service region and beyond. When you got some homework and you need a place to go, when you're working on a project and your computer is slow, there's a little place on campus that I think that you should know about. The first story of the library is what I'm talking about. Walk past Java City and then you will see the new commons area is where you should be. They got computers and printers, couches, tables, and more. It's the perfect place to go for study time galore.
Know you're safe to study at the library, or to go out and grab a bite to eat. Know that you can go out and play with your friends. All because you know that whether you're in the classroom or anywhere on campus, you're protected. The Morehead State University Police are here for you. In case of an emergency, call 606-783-2035 or simply dial 911.
Welcome back to Kaleidoscope, and hope you enjoyed that segment with Ricardo Colon, and hopefully we will be getting back with him soon. But at this time, I'd like to introduce our guest here in the studio. This is Dr. Chandra Nash.
Hello.
Thank you, Dr. Nash, for coming to our studio and participating in the Kaleidoscope TV segment.
I'm happy to be here.
So glad to have you. And with that being said, I'd like for you to give us a little bit of background about you, how you got to Morehead, and just something you'd like to share with our viewing audience.
Okay, I have been at Morehead State University since 2003.
Okay.
I am, like you, a graduate of the University of Kentucky, where I too received my doctorate in the area of sociology.
Okay.
And after that, I had spent a year at the University of Illinois at Chicago in the Department of African American Studies, pursuing a postdoctorate.
Okay. Okay.
And applied, came to Morehead, was familiar with Morehead due to the fact that I had several colleagues within the Department of Sociology who were Morehead graduates.
Okay. And where are you from?
I am originally from Monroe, Louisiana.
Monroe, Louisiana.
It's about 5 hours from New Orleans, 2 hours from Jackson, 5 hours from Little Rock, and 5 hours from Dallas. So if you can get all that in, you probably get a visual image of where I'm from.
And just curious, what did you get your undergrad degree in, and where you shared with us where you got your doctoral degree?
At the University of Louisiana at Monroe.
Okay.
That would be undergraduate as well as my master's degree.
All right.
Which
very
was
good.
communications.
Okay. All right. Very good. So glad to have you back into the scene here, into the venue of communications.
Yes.
I am just really interested in talking to you and working with you before. I am just really impressed and understand your research is just an awesome piece of research that we have here on campus. And I just want to say to you now, thank you for allowing me to be a part of some of the research that you've been doing as well.
Happy to have you as a colleague.
Thank you, and especially I'm new person on the block, but you helped me to to feel a part of the academy in parts of publication. So with that being said, I need to ask you, why did you choose this particular research for your area of study?
Okay. My area of study, my primary area of study, is I look at domestic violence through the lens of religion. Specifically, I examine abused Christian women to see how they use religion in order to cope, make sense of their domestic violence situations, specifically spousal violence. And I'm often asked that, so I'm not surprised that you asked that, but I'm often asked, why that? It's so depressing. And so, of course, the assumption is that maybe it's something that she's seen in her family. Interestingly enough, it isn't. When I was pursuing my undergraduate degree, I used to work at a photography studio in Monroe, Louisiana. Had a very nice boss. Her thing was this, you sell your club plans, you can talk all you want. Well, one day we got philosophical, then we had moved on over to religious, and there was a gentleman there, and I knew that he was trying to set up some kind of religious argument, and it was this. It was like, Chandra? I said, yes. He said, you believe in God? Yeah. You believe in the story of Adam and Eve, creation, fall of man? Yes. You believe that Eve was the one that bit the forbidden fruit? Yeah. Punchline. And he said, well, that means that men can beat women anytime they want to.
Wow.
He did.
Wow.
He did. And I have to tell you, I had no comeback. It vexed my mind and
I know that's right.
For days, years even. I found myself, as I was pursuing my master's degree, going back to that question of links between something that is considered to be by many so benevolent, but at the same time so violent and so devastating.
Wow.
Still vexed me that by the time that I had entered the University of Kentucky, I'm writing a dissertation about it.
Wow, wow. It's all right. And in your work, you found that religion is a double-edged sword.
Most certainly.
In terms of how it's used, women who are struggling with an abusive spouse. What do you mean?
Well, it is a double-edged sword. Religion can cut two ways. There are religious women who are abused, and they will tell you that if it were not for my faith and belief in a benevolent God who wanted me out of this relationship, who guided me through my decisions, I would be dead. And they really do believe that. There is a sense of coping, of calmness, of competency, of certainty, really that's the word, that they serve a power, or they take guidance from a power that is larger than the abuse and larger than their abuser. And most certainly, that certainty, we can't blame them for wanting that. Domestic violence is so devastating. But also at the same time, there are religious traditions that will keep a woman in an abusive relationship. Some women, they read or interpret scriptures, sacred texts, or traditions, and from that they believe that, okay, I am to be loyal regardless of the situation. I am to be submissive regardless of the situation. All these things detain one in an abusive relationship longer than they should be.
We got about 30 seconds, and I want you just to respond to what are religious institutions doing about this problem? Short and brief.
They're not doing enough, but what they need to do is begin to unequivocally condemn violence against women from the pulpit. Join with secular intervention services in order to make a difference. The women are counting on it, and they need to deliver.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And so glad to have you on. Dr. Chandra Nash, she is an associate professor in sociology and criminology. Again, thank you.
Thank you
And we'll
for
be right back.
When you're thirsty, are you going to depend on a crumpled old dollar? Remind yourself to always bring your Eagle card. Dude, you need the Eagle card. Always keep beaker bucks loaded onto your Eagle card just in case. It's the fastest way to make all of your on-campus purchases.
Welcome back to Kaleidoscope. And our last piece, as I shared with you, would be a surprise. And I just want to share with you that on last evening, I was a part of a forum that talked about the African American life in the age of Obama. And our last segment here is I'd like to share about 5 minutes of that forum with you. Dr. Clorinda Phillips, Dr. Tamara Brown, and Mr. Charles Holloway was a part of this forum, as well as Ms. Chandra Nash was the moderator. At this time, I would like to present to you just a 5-minute excerpt of our forum on last evening.
We have a black president. We have an African American president. Let me sit down. These shoes won't allow me to stand too long. A president who is biracial, but most certainly self-identified as a man of color, specifically African American. My question to you is just simple. It is one of those questions I think we all talked about, or at least thought about at least once, maybe 5 times. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Did you expect this in your lifetime? Anyway.
And that I come with the maturity of this panel. I will say no, but I was glad about it based on my experience. I did not think that I would see a black president during my lifetime. I am proud to say that I do have one, and I understand that he is smart, and he is intelligent, and he definitely meets the qualifications of a president of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I would say is that I think I'm surprised by the timing, and we can talk about the timing of it all. I'm not surprised that it happened in my lifetime, but did I expect it to happen in 2008? No. But some things lined up just right.
Okay.
Kind of like Clorinda, I wasn't expecting it to happen in my lifetime, but as she said, the timing was right, and if you really looked at it when President Obama was at the Democratic Convention in 2004, you could see that you didn't know what was going to happen, but you knew that that young man was going places. So I think the path was set then.
I didn't expect it to happen in my lifetime. I look at the racism in this country, both covert and overt, and how it operates in a number of different ways to prevent mobility of qualified people, whether it's into certain positions or upward if you're already in particular institutions. And so I thought those forces would continue to operate in a way that would prevent an African American becoming the highest, position, office in this country, the leader of this country. So I expected those forces to keep it from happening even when we have qualified people to be the president. So I was pleasantly surprised.
This is a question. It's kind of sobering, but I have to ask it. Did you expect him to live this long? Honestly.
As in be assassinated?
Exactly.
I thought he would live this long, but as you said, did that option come about? Did a lot of people think about it? And I would say probably from a church perspective or religious perspective, I think you had more people really praying for the president because of that, thinking that possibility could happen by him being African American.
I thought he'd live, but I know that there was a lot of fear about that, given the number of threats that he had during the campaign and after. But in addition to that, given the fact that he prefers to be a very public president, a president who likes to be in and among people, eating in restaurants with common folk and, shaking hands and just being much more accessible to the public, certainly opened up risk for harm. I mean, provided more opportunities than someone who would be, hiding more behind Secret Service and the back alleyways to things. He's not that sort of a president, and so I thought he opened himself up to the possibility, but I didn't think that he would be assassinated.
One of the subtle things that I think is quite interesting is how you'll have people calling him Barack Obama. Even in past administrations, I would always say President Bush. But then if you also look along those same lines, how you would have people say Tubby Smith, but you hear Coach Cal, Coach Patino. So you look at, I think that in certain time frame, I look at it as a way of disrespect. But see, some people may say, well, we didn't mean anything by it. But by him being the president, you should refer to him by his title, which is the honor which he is due and he earned. But a lot of times I think sometimes people will try to throw those slight things and just say Obama or Barack Obama versus referring to him as President Obama.
Well, now we're getting into race talk. The concept of a post-Obama American is often saddled with a post-race America. With this comes the suggestion that if a black man can be elected as President of the United States, with overwhelming support among the races, the ethnicities, gender, orientations, then this is proof that racial inequality does exist in America. And this is proof that claims of discrimination or disadvantage are just exaggerated or opportunistic. So this is my question to the panel. Are we a post-race America? Are we there yet?
Let me just say no.
Okay.
I think that's probably the easiest or the simplest way to answer the question. I think it has always been the case that in the United States we have allowed for what I would call exceptionalism, right? This sense that you have whatever the racial or ethnic minority or even gender minority is, we've always allowed exceptional individuals to step outside of what would be sort of their stereotypical role in society. And so I think to the extent that Barack Obama is viewed as the exception.
If you enjoy watching and analyzing movies, the Film Studies minor would be great for you. The Film Studies minor recognizes the importance of film literacy in the digital age and offers students the critical skills they will need to productively engage in the mass-mediated world of the 21st century. In class, you may observe movies such as Seven, Blade Runner, Taxi Driver, and Dirty Harry. For further information, contact the Director of Film Studies, Jeffrey Hill, at j.hill@moreheadstate.edu.
Welcome back to Kaleidoscope, and again I want to say thank you for tuning in and viewing our segment today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I want to thank Dr. Chandra Nash and Mr. Ricardo Colon for being a part of our Kaleidoscope show. Hope you have a restful and peaceful summer, and we'll see you next fall.